breaking news. The Turkish president, Erdogan, is threatening to basically invade Syria, right? Careful, though, because the media don't call it that. They call it an incursion, right? Turkey's Erdogan threatens new incursion into Syria. You can see incursion. Here it's offensive, but again, incursion is the word that they're using, which is very interesting, right? Because when Russia conducted a quote-unquote special military operation in Ukraine, they called it an invasion. Okay, I see how it is. I see what you're doing. So here's the deal. Here's what he said. So Erdogan threatened on Monday to launch a new military operation in Syria to secure Turkey's southern border. Speaking following a cabinet meeting, Erdogan said the aim of the operation would be to resume Turkish efforts to create a 30-kilometer safe zone along its border with Syria. So Erdogan said, quote, "We will soon take new steps regarding the incomplete portions of the project we started on the 30-kilometer deep safe zone we established along our southern border." Let me break this down very clearly. Turkey is already in Syria illegally. Okay? Here's a map of Turkey's presence, and I'm going to show you what he is proposing, what he is declaring that he will do. So you can see here in turquoise up here, that's Turkey. Okay, this green piece is Turkey occupying Syria. Okay, illegally occupying Syria. You can see here all along the northern Syrian border, this is the proposed 30-kilometer safe zone that Erdogan wants to create. So you can see it's absolutely enormous. It's like 4 times the size of what Turkey's already occupying, right? So he wants to take this entire chunk of Syria, like some, he's just walking into a store, right? Yeah, I think I'll have a little bit of that, and we can go all the way, 30 kilometers, like it's his land. He's very funny. They're very funny, aren't they? So Syria, as you can see, is already chopped up into 4 pieces. Basically, you've got the part in red. I love how they always put the Syrian government forces in red. Like psychologically, red is the color of danger. So you can see all of this: Damascus, the capital, Homs, Palmyra. These are, and Aleppo, which is the biggest, most populated, and Syria's industrial city. All of this is back under control of the Syrian army. But down here, you can see the Israeli occupation in blue. That's since 1967 in the Golan Heights. Then down here, you have more of these quote-unquote rebels, whatever that means now. And over here, you can see Turkey, and next to it, Idlib. Idlib is a very important governorate and city. And in the legend, in the key, they say they are rebel forces, right? I'll tell you in a minute about Idlib. But basically, I'm just trying to lay out what Syria looks like now. Now, up here in the northeast, in Hasake and Deir Zor, you have the Kurdish militias. They have called themselves the Syrian Democratic Forces, SDF, right? And of course, the SDF are working with the Americans. So just to give you an idea what that means, working with the Americans, let's take a look at that, right? Like, let me just kind of briefly spell that out for you. Here is Syria's oil fields, Syria's largest oil reserves up here. And so you can see Hasake and Deir Zor, right? And guess where the Americans are? I wonder where the Americans are in Syria. Oh, look, they're right where the oil fields are. So obviously there are 50 million pictures. It's not even a secret. Just go on Google and type U.S. forces Syria oil. You will find a million pictures of them literally standing in the oil fields. They're completely shameless. The other day they stole 70 tankers of oil. They smuggled it out of Syria into Iraq. And so you see Syria has been chopped up into multiple pieces. And Erdogan, Turkey's president, wants to take even more. Now, why is he doing this? Why is he doing this? Because, Turkey for a while has wanted to do this anyway, to this quote-unquote safe zone. Well, my speculation is that he chose this moment because Finland and Sweden want to get into NATO, right? And the only person blocking their membership is Turkey. Because in NATO, in order to join NATO, you need unanimous consent from the member states, right? So everybody who's already in NATO has to okay your application. And Turkey's the only country that is saying no. And why did it say no? It said no because it doesn't like the fact that Sweden and Finland are supportive of the PKK, right? So this is the Kurdish Workers' Party. The Kurdish Workers' Party, the PKK for short, Turkey considers it a terrorist organization, okay? And also, Turkey considers the YPG, which is, again, we're talking about the Kurdish militias that are in Syria, also to be terrorist groups. They say the YPG is part of the PKK, so they're also terrorists. So basically what Erdogan is trying to do, he told Sweden that he wants Sweden to hand over, to extradite all PKK members that are, hiding there, that have basically been given refuge and resources and all of this. And I don't think that's going to happen. So what he's doing here is two things. Erdogan is trying to take a bigger chunk of Syria so he can attack the Kurds directly. Since, Sweden and Finland won't cooperate and hand over the Kurdish groups and rescind their support for them. And the other thing that he's trying to do is that he's basically, he's calling NATO's bluff. He's like, you guys want me to say yes to Finland and Sweden's application? I'll think about it. And meanwhile, I'm going to go inside Syria and take all of its northern border. How about that? They're not going to stop him. They're not going to criticize him. They might, give lip service, but they really don't have a choice, because this might be the price of Sweden and Finland getting into NATO. So Turkey is taking advantage of the little leverage it has right now. I think that's what's happening. Again, it's just my speculation, but I think that's what makes sense right now. And obviously this is illegal. Once again, Turkey is illegally in Syria. The United States is illegally in Syria. Israel is illegally in Syria. Okay? They were not invited. They have no right to be there. Turkey talks about, we want to make a safe zone. We're protecting our border. Then go to your fucking border. This is Syria. Who do you think you are? They're so arrogant. They think that they can just walk in to Syria and violate it, right? And desecrate it. It's really disgusting. And let me show you something over here, because I think you will find this stunning. You will find this stunning. This area over here where they say there are rebels, okay? Up here in green, you see this kind of light green? They say, it's just rebels. Let me tell you what's going on here, because Idlib is controlled by a terrorist group called HTS. HTS in English stands for Hayat Tahrir al-Sham. Basically, Al-Qaeda, you guys know Al-Qaeda. Al-Qaeda rebranded itself to Al-Nusra, and then after Al-Nusra, they rebranded to HTS. So when we say HTS, it's Al-Qaeda. Don't get it twisted. All right? And Idlib, all of Idlib is controlled by HTS predominantly. There are other groups. You have to understand something. I'm not just talking about 5 people. The whole place, there are estimates of 20,000 fighters there. 20,000 quote-unquote jihadists, right? 20,000 terrorists of various groups. And the most important one, the biggest one, is Al-Qaeda, of course, HTS. And Turkey is working with them. But they don't tell you that, because Turkey has been attacking Syria since the war began, right? Since 2011, Turkey is saying, Bashar al-Assad has to go. Who the fuck are you, man? Mind your business. They've been saying that. Bashar al-Assad has to go, as if it's their country. And then what did they do? What did Turkey do afterwards? Turkey was the door for all of these foreign fighters that were coming from Tunisia, from Afghanistan, wherever, to enter Syria. The Turkish intelligence are not stupid, right? They're not stupid. The Turkish government is not stupid. They know very well that all of the foreign fighters, the majority of them, were entering through Turkey, right? You have even a reporter. Her name is Serena Shim. She was in Syria reporting for Press TV. And she saw how they're using I think it was the UN trucks, I don't remember, but basically NGO trucks to smuggle in fighters and weapons. And she was on TV, and she said that the Turkish intelligence visited her and basically accused her of being a spy. And a few hours later, she wound up dead in a car accident. Make of that what you will. In any case, this is no secret. Turkey has been actively arming. So let me be clear. Turkey not only turned a blind eye to all these terrorists going in, Turkey armed them and has created, what was it again? I'm losing track of these groups. There's 50 of them. The Syrian, hold hold on a second. Let me get this up. This is why I talk about 50 flavors of jihad, because there's so many groups. It's ridiculous, man. I swear it's ridiculous. So Turkey basically created this Syrian National Forces or something. What the hell was it called? Syrian National Army. That's the one. So this is a militia group created by Turkey to fight the Syrian government, to get rid of the Syrian government. So Turkey has made no secret of that they want to get rid of the government. And some of the times they've used this as ISIS as an excuse. They say, oh, we're going in to fight ISIS. Well, no one invited you to fight ISIS. Hezbollah was invited. Iran was invited. Russia was invited. You weren't invited. So maybe stay out. They don't care. They go in because they have no respect for Syria. And just going back to this map over here, I didn't show you this one. This is from 2019. So it's not the most recent. But you can see with the diagonal lines, the quote-unquote safe zone that Turkey was proposing. So this idea is not new. They were saying this back in 2019, but right now, Erdogan is saying he's ready to go in. He said as soon as the preparations are done, they're going in. So this is why it's so serious. Okay? And you can see over here Turkey's activities abroad. Again, I'm not going to talk too much about Libya right now because, Turkey's been sending fighters to Libya as well. Basically, jihadist tourism. Like, oh, you guys can fight Syria, then we'll, come here, get on this plane and go to Libya and fight for us there. Really interesting, right? Really interesting. Let me see if I have give me a second. I wanted to find a video of Erdogan saying it, but there isn't one. I'm just going to read you the rest of the article in what he was saying. Erdogan did not provide further details, but said that the operation would begin after Turkey's military, intelligence, and security forces complete their preparations. Okay? So, basically, he's saying it's on. It's on. Hold on. Let me show you this clip over here of Erdogan. This was back in 2019, where he was talking about this safe zone, I think, right? Let's take a look quickly, yeah?
Dörtte birini işgal eden ve sözde Suriye demokratik güçleri adıyla meşrulaştırılmaya çalışılan Fırat'ın.
Right, so again, this might be confusing to you because there's so many names. It is confusing. He's saying PKK and YPG. So again, PKK is the Kurdish Workers' Party, which Turkey's declared a terrorist organization, and the YPG is the Kurdish groups in Syria. And he's saying they're basically connected to each other, so they're both terrorists. And the label Syrian Democratic Forces is also Kurdish-led. It's led by YPG and so on. So he's talking about the same people. He's basically saying the PKK and the YPG and the Syrian Democratic Forces, they're all the same, and they're terrorists.
Doğusundaki PKK, YPG terör yapılanmasının ortadan kaldırılmasıdır. Tüm terör örgütlerine aynı mesafeden bakan bir anlayışı yerleştirmeden Suriye meselesine kalıcı çözüm bulamayız. Amerika Birleşik Devletleri ile burada bir güven.
There you go. He says secure zone. So again, he's talking about this this little plan over here that he's going to act on now, yeah?
Güvenli bölge oluşturulması konusundaki görüşmelerimiz sürüyor. Niyetimiz ilk etapta 30 kilometredir.
A peace corridor. That's very funny of you. You're funny. Hey, I got a question for Erdogan. Do you mind if I come into Turkey and I just take 30-kilometer buffer of your border and just I make a peace zone, right? We'll have lovely little flowers and peace symbols and hippie music. Do you mind? It's just a peace corridor. Come on, man. It's nothing bad.
Derinliğinde ve 480 kilometre uzunluğunda bir barış koridoru tesis ederek uluslararası toplumun burada 2 milyon Suriyelinin.
Wow, you're funny, right? 480 kilometers, like as if it's his like mansion or estate, right? Just a piece of land that he bought. They're so disgusting. They're so arrogant. How they speak about Syria like it belongs to them.
İskanını sağlamaktır. Şu görülen bizim sınırımızdır. Ve aşağıda da derinliğine olan bölge
There it
budur.
is.
Şu güvenli bölge ilan edildiğinde bu güvenli bölgeye biz rahatlıkla 1 milyon ila 2 milyon arasında göçmeni, mülteciyi yerleştirme şansına sahibiz. Burada gerek Amerika, gerekse koalisyon güçleri, Rusya, İran hep birlikte el ele vermek suretiyle bu güvenli bölgede bu mültecileri.
Okay, so I just want to make one thing clear. Let me please make one thing clear, because he's talking about resettling refugees. Turkey, I think, is around 2 million, 3 million, around 2 million Syrian refugees. So, you know, you have to express thanks and gratitude that they took in these refugees. Turkey, I think, took in more Syrian refugees than any country, and I gotta say they benefit from this in one way. That's like a whole, you know, a whole new workforce. But nevertheless, that act of taking in the refugees, that's a noble act. But this stuff, this is something else. This is something else. And I want to, again, make something very clear to you so you can understand what is going on. Turkey has basically annexed northern Syria, and now they're trying to annex even more. So when we look at this map over here, they try to make two different colors, right? They say this green is Idlib and the turquoise is Turkey. Turkey is controlling the terrorists in Idlib and supporting them, right? And how do we know this? You know what's happening in Idlib? They don't even use the Syrian currency anymore. They don't use the lira, the Syrian pound. They're using the Turkish currency in northern Syria. So just to give you an idea how much Turkey has taken over Idlib and northern Syria, they've practically annexed it. I'm not even joking. I'm not even joking. So here, look at this. This is from 2020. Syria's Idlib adopts Turkish lira in place of plummeting pound. Wow. I think that pretty much says it all. And I'll give you more evidence. I'll give you more proof that Turkey is collaborating with these terrorists, even though the evidence is overwhelming. Do you guys remember when Trump killed the leader of ISIS, Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi? Wasn't that his name? Yeah. Do you know where he was killed? Take a guess where he was killed. Please take a guess. Where was this guy killed? I'm going to show you the map. He was killed right here in Idlib. He was killed in Idlib. So do you know how ridiculous that is? Do you know what that means? Because Turkey is saying we have nothing to do with these terrorists. And the moderate rebels in Syria, the quote-unquote moderate rebels, say, we're not hardcore. We are against ISIS. We are against Hayat Tahrir Sham. We are against Al-Qaeda. We do not condone this kind of behavior. We want to get rid of Bashar al-Assad in a civilized way. We're not like ISIS. So you're telling me that the leader of ISIS was hiding where the moderate rebels are? You're really funny. Wow, they seem very moderate that he's hiding out with them. You're hilarious. Because that's what they're telling you. They're telling you that all these fighters here in Idlib are moderates. There's no such thing as Al-Qaeda terrorists. If you say that, you are repeating Assad propaganda, right? If you call the Syrian rebels Al-Qaeda or terrorists, you are an Assadist. Wow. So, number one, Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, the leader of ISIS, gets killed in Idlib. I'm not done. Here it is, right? By the way, here's from the BBC. The village of Barisha in Idlib province near the Turkish border. That's where Baghdadi was killed. Now, after that, we had somebody else killed. Abu Ibrahim al-Qurayshi. So the next leader of ISIS, the second leader of ISIS. Where do you guys think he was killed? You already know the answer. You already know the answer. The head of ISIS, the leader of Daesh. Where do you think he was killed? Where was he hiding out? Oh, man. You know, it's so funny. It's really funny. It's really funny. Here from the BBC. The raid targeted a 3-story residential building on the outskirts of the opposition-held town of Etme, which is in northern Idlib province. So you have both leaders of ISIS killed, and both of them were hiding with the moderate rebels, right, which are totally against ISIS. Do you see once again how Turkey is lying about who it's supporting and who it's backing, and the mainstream media are lying about these moderate rebels in Syria? If they're moderate, they would never allow somebody from ISIS, never mind the leader of Daesh, the leader of ISIS, to hide out in their area. They would hand him over to somebody. They'd arrest him. They do something, right? No, they let him hide out there. Wow, huge difference. And again, this guy, do you remember we looked at this guy? This is the head of Al-Qaeda in Syria, of the head of Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, of HTS. This guy, Al-Jolani, he did an interview recently with PBS, right? So we broke down this entire interview. We watched it together, you and I commented on it. And let me just say this very clearly. There is no way on earth that PBS got access to the leader of HTS without going through Turkey, without help from Turkey. Do you understand? So there is a real connection here between Turkey and the terrorists in Syria, even, you know, Al-Qaeda, Daesh. They're basically helping them or turning a blind eye at best. And my point here is that, you know, you got a country like Turkey that's helping terrorists to overthrow the Syrian government, and you want to let them take even more Syrian land so they can kill Kurds and make a peace corridor. What kind of drivel is this? That's absolute drivel. That is really drivel. I don't tolerate this 1 second. Now look what the Turkish logic is. So I'm showing you both sides, right? When I present this, I always tell you what each side is saying. Now, Turkey, let me show you the letter of the Turkish ambassador to the UN when Turkey went into Syria in 2019. Okay? So he basically, again, said that Syria has these terrorist organizations running around, the Kurds, the PKK. And then down here, he cites the Adana Agreement, which was signed in 1998. So basically what happened is in 1998, Turkey and Syria, they signed this agreement where Syria would declare the PKK a terrorist organization and exile all members of the PKK, the leader, basically just disband everything, right? Because they had given them refuge during the 80s, I think it was. So Syria signed this agreement, and in the agreement, if you look here, it actually has a there's an exception, sort of an exception that that should Syria fail to fulfill these demands, Turkey would have the right to chase PKK suspects 5 kilometers deep into Syria across the Syria-Turkey border. So Syria agreed to this, that Turkey can go up to 5 kilometers into Syria. What is Erdogan proposing? 30 kilometers. So even if you cite this stupid agreement, which Syria does not even respect anymore, and neither does Turkey, it still doesn't make sense. The other thing that you should pay attention to in the Turkish ambassador's letter is that he cites Article 51 of the UN Charter, meaning self-defense. So the Turks are basically saying we must go into Syria because we are defending ourselves from the PKK, from the Kurdish terrorists. And you can see here that Turkey, this is the Turkish ambassador, right? He says to the UN, Turkey initiated Operation Peace Spring on 9th October 2019 in line with the right of self-defense as outlined in Article 51 of the Charter of the United Nations. So let's look at Article 51 of the UN Charter and see if it fits Turkey's claim. So Article 51 says that nothing in the present charter shall impair the inherent right of individual or collective self-defense if an armed attack occurs against a member of the United Nations. Okay? Now, basically what Turkey is saying is that there were cross-border attacks, tiny events that do not amount to an armed attack. And remember, this is not even a state actor. They're talking about a group. They're talking about the PKK. So it's not like they're saying, oh, this country attacked us. It's a non-state actor. So Turkey's claim that Turkey invoking the right to self-defense, it can't do that because nothing that the PKK did amounts to an armed attack. Do you understand? So either way you look at it, they got no right to be in Syria. None at all. None at all. If anyone has the right to invoke Article 51 and claim self-defense, it's Syria. I mean, Jesus Christ, you got dozens of bastards, really just bastards, that have destroyed Syria, invaded Syria, plundered Syria, killed Syria. I can't even count them. There's so many groups. There's so many countries. It's innumerable. And they have the nerve to talk about self-defense. They're all aggressors. They have all violated Syria in every sense of the word. Every single day I see something new with Syria, people dying, bombs being dropped. They never stop. And they have the gall to talk about self-defense. It's so disgusting. It's like a bully. It's like a cry bully, you know? A bully attacking people and then saying, "Oh, I did nothing wrong." They are bullies. And they have no legal justification whatsoever. And they are treating Syria like it belongs to them, like it's their backyard. They can just walk in anytime they like. Really funny, honestly. You're really funny. I want to show you a clip here from 2020 where the Swedish foreign minister is speaking to the Turkish foreign minister. And they had a very interesting exchange. Let's take a look.
We continue to urge Turkey to withdraw.
We urge Turkey to withdraw from Syria. Bir kere diplomaside böyle urge kelimesini kullanmak tepeden bakma bir yaklaşımdır. Doğru bir yaklaşım değil. O kelime yanlış. Siz kimden aldığınız yetkiyle Türkiye'nin Suriye'den çekilmesini istiyorsunuz? Suriye'deki rejim İsveç'e veya Avrupa Birliği'ne böyle bir yetki mi verdi? Biz Suriye...
Wow, he's really funny. He says, did the regime in Syria give such an authorization to Sweden or the EU to tell that to Turkey? So, all of a sudden he acts like he respects the will of the Syrian government. Dude, you are literally illegally in Syria. You don't have any permission. On what basis are you in Syria? And then he starts questioning, he starts acting like he respects the decrees of the Syrian government. I mean, what is this irony? This is so ironic. The guy who's invading Syria suddenly cares about what the Syrian government wants. You're funny, really.
Avrupa Birliği'ne böyle bir yetki mi verdi? Biz Suriye'yi bölmek istemiyoruz.
Another lie. Let me break this down very clear, man. Turkey, not just because of Turkey, it's because of the French, it's because of the British when they colonized the Middle East. When they divided up the Middle East in the Sykes-Picot Agreement after World War I, they gave pieces of Syria to Turkey. They don't belong to Turkey. But because, I love people who think that colonialism is over. Like, oh, my country had nothing to do with that. That was 100 years ago. Shut the hell up, you clown. Colonialism is still alive and well in many ways. And one of those is the borders. The borders that you see in the Middle East were not drawn by people from the Middle East. They were drawn by white people, by invaders, by aggressors, by oppressors, by occupiers, by colonizers from France, from Paris, from London. They drew the borders, and we have to live with them now. Palestinians have to suffer every day because, some prick in Whitehall decided to make a quote-unquote Jewish state, like as if he speaks for all Jews. I mean, this is really something. And they handed over, let me just show you on the map what I'm talking about, what they gave to Turkey. So, Antioch is one of them. And here you can see on the map. So if you look at an official Syrian map, you will see that this is still part of Syria. But actually, Turkey took it, right? It was given to Turkey. It doesn't belong to them. The Arab majority, they make up the population. It's majority Arab. It's historically Arab. But Turkey takes it. And of course, I'm not going to get into all of the other things that they've taken from Armenia. My goodness. I mean, really. So when he says we don't want to divide Syria, he's a complete liar. He's an absolute liar because that's literally what they're doing. They've taken a chunk out of Syria. They're allowing terrorists to operate in Idlib. And then they want to take even more, a 480-kilometer stretch, 30 kilometers deep of Syrian land. So he literally, unequivocally wants to divide Syria. This is a lie.
Ama siz Suriye'yi bölmek isteyen PKK'lılara destek olmak için Türkiye'ye çekildiniz.
Here he has a point. He says from Syria, the PKK which wants to divide Syria. Now here we enter a pickle. Here we enter a pickle because he's right. The Kurds want their own country. They want an autonomous region. Where? In Hassaken Deir Zor. I showed you already the map. It's basically where all the oil and crops are. Very, very convenient. Okay, hold on, Erdogan. Very, very convenient, right, to have all of this. So the Kurds want this. They want to take all of this, basically, in yellow. Most of what is in yellow. And the Syrian government is in a pickle because at the same time, it does not want Turkey inside Syria, but the Turks are keeping the Kurds in check. So it's a very delicate situation. I just wanted to say that, let us watch the rest.
Peki İdlib'den de çekil diyor musunuz Türkiye? Veya DAEŞ'ten temizlediğimiz bölgelerden çekil diyor musunuz? Hayır. Neden? Çünkü İdlib'den çekilsek 3 milyon daha mülteci Türkiye'ye gelir.
Alright, you're really funny, man. Again, both leaders of ISIS, the first one, Baghdadi, and then I forgot the other guy's name. we got too many terrorists in the house over here. Hold on, what was his name again? Qureshi? In any case, my point was that they were both in an area that Turkey de facto controls. De facto. Okay? So, when he says that, if Turkey leaves Syria, ISIS will come in, you let ISIS operate there. What do you let all of these jihadists come into Syria? You, Turkey. Let's be very clear, by the way. When I say Turkey, I'm talking about the government. I'm not talking about the people or the country, which is beautiful. And the same thing when we say the Americans or the British. I'm talking about the government, about Foggy Bottom, about DC, about Whitehall, about the few people at the top who run everything. So just let's go back to I can't help but stop him in every line because everything he's saying is completely wrong. It's fabricated. Sorry.
Diyor musunuz? Hayır. Neden? Çünkü İdlib'den çekilsek 3 milyon daha mülteci Türkiye'ye gelecek, oradan da Avrupa ülkelerine gidecek. Nereden çekilmemiz lazım? PKK'dan temizlediğimiz alanlardan Türkiye'ye çekilmesi lazım. SDG, PYD, YPG, PKK hiçbir ayrım yok.
See what I said? Turkey considers all of them related to the PKK. The YPGs in Syria, and the Syrian Democratic Forces, for them it's all the same and they consider them terrorists.
Öyle görmek istiyorsunuz. İşte gördünüz, ofisini açtırdınız, ofisin başına gelen adam hakkında kara para aklamayla ilgili soruşturma başlattı. Bunlar terörist. Aramileri dinleyin, Asurileri dinleyin, Hristiyan azınlıkları dinleyin, PKK.
All right. I'm a Christian minority. Hello. I'm a Christian minority from Syria. Get the hell out of my country.
Dinleyin, Hristiyan azınlıkları dinleyin, PKK, YPG, sizin dediğiniz SDG onlara neler yapmış onlardan dinleyin. Suriyeli diğer Kürtleri dinleyin. Türkiye'deki geri dönemeyen Suriyeli Kürtleri dinleyin. Onlara ulaşamazsanız aynı şekilde Avrupa'daki Suriyeli Kürtleri dinleyin. Suriye Ulusal Kürt Koalisyonu'nu dinleyin. PKK dışında birçok Kürt kuruluşlar, dernekler var. Kapatılan siyasi partiler var. Öldürülenler var. Hapse atılan Kürtler var. Şimdi PKK'lılar Kürt oluyor da onlar ne oluyor? Sizden rica ediyorum. Diyarbakır'da bir yıldır çocuklarını bekleyen annelere bir gidin konuşun. Onlar da Kürt kadını. Onlar da eli öpülesi Kürt anneler. Siz de bir annesiniz.
What is this music all the time?
Neden hep Kürt deyince PKK'lıları, YPG'lileri bu listeye girmedi, SDG veya onları destekliyorsunuz? Diğer Kürtlerin ne günahı var? Onları da dinleyelim. Biz de açıkça düşüncelerimizi söylemekle mükellefiz. 83 milyon vatandaşımız adına söylemekle mükellefiz bunları. Kişisel bir şey yok. Nothing is personal.
Nothing personal. Okay, well, I apologize for the dramatic music, bass hits, but you get the point. I showed you this video. I wanted you to see this so you understand Turkey's point of view, how they view the situation, because I want to show you all sides and what all sides say. So you see, for Turkey, they're saying, well, we have to be there or else the Kurds will take back the areas we cleared, or ISIS will come back, or more refugees will move in. You know, they say that they're protecting themselves. Again, I'm very sorry, man, but when Russia goes into Ukraine to protect itself from a perceived threat from NATO, everybody says that this is illegal. Everybody says that it's not a military operation. They definitely don't say incursion. They say it's an invasion. And they boycott Russia. They boycott Russian trees, from trees to athletes, everything, you name it. And, you know, Turkey does this, and the media make excuses for them. I'm not even joking. Dude, go on Google. Just look how they're referring to this. He wants to take a 30-kilometer, 480-kilometer long stretch of Syrian land. So all of this with the diagonal lines. And you know what the media call it? An incursion. That's ABC News. Incursion. PBS. Incursion. You guys are funny. You're really funny. Al Monitor says incursion. The National says new military operation. All right. Here, again, incursion. They're really funny. Right? You see the difference in language? Why does Turkey get a pass? Because Turkey's a NATO country. Remember, Turkey has the second largest army in NATO after the United States. So you can see how hypocritical they are, right? They give Turkey a pass because they want Turkey to okay Sweden and Finland's membership. That's what's going on. By the way, let me show you something very quickly. This happened a few hours ago. Where Erdogan, so the Turkish president, he says that the Greek prime minister, quote unquote, no longer exists. So basically what happened is the Greek prime minister went to the United States and he criticized Turkey. And now Erdogan is saying, you don't exist anymore for me. Goodbye. Again, I'm not going to get into the whole beef between Turkey and Greece. I'm not going to talk about Cyprus, but I'll just pull up the map real quick. I love how I'm saying I'm not going to talk about this while talking about this. Basically, Turkey has half of Cyprus under its control, and it's basically declared it a country. It's Turkey. It's not another country. It's Turkey. And of course, with Greece, well, Turkey has basically been extending, Mediterranean gas exploration. They want the gas that's in the Mediterranean Sea, and they're operating in waters, in zones that belong to Greece and belong to Cyprus. So that's another part of the argument. But again, this is a whole other story, which we'll get into another time. But I just wanted to show you this because it happened at the same time as Turkey's announcing this military operation. What are we calling it? Seriously, tell me in the comments. What are you guys going to call this? Because if I say incursion, it's really out of comedy. I think it's hilarious that they're calling it an incursion. I mean, to me, being a Syrian, when you take all of this, you're an occupier, man. I don't care what you call it, incursion, invasion, whatever. Get the hell out of my country. In Ilia. And in Idlib, what's funny is that you have 5,000 fighters from China, Uyghurs, right? 5,000 Uyghur jihadists that are in Idlib, and then they tell you it's a civil war. Really? Oh yeah, a civil war. You got someone from Afghanistan, another guy from Pakistan, another guy from Tunisia, one guy from China, one guy from Turkey. Yeah, real civil war. They tell you that it's the will of the Syrian people. Really? How come Bashar al-Assad was able to stay in power for 10 years? I have never in my life heard of a leader that was able to withstand, an attack by 12 countries, including the most powerful, the United States, Israel, and without the will of his people, and he's still in power. Wow, you're funny. You're really funny. They're basically dabbling in fairy tales. They're feeding you fairy tales. The reality is that the majority of the Syrian population support Bashar al-Assad. Now, does that mean he is perfect? Hell no. And we can get to criticisms, real criticisms, not the made-up ones that they give you on CNN. We can get to those because there are a lot to be made. But to come here and say that he does not have the support of the people is rubbish. Because let me explain it to you this way. They talk about democracy, that you need to have democracy so that the will of the people is imposed. Well, that is the will of the people. And, they try all sorts of tricks, embargoes, sanctions, sending terrorists, Al-Qaeda, ISIS. And it didn't work. It didn't work. Ask yourself why it didn't work. So, again, just to show you the whole zone that they're talking about that they want to take, includes Qamishli and everything up here, basically. So, it's disgusting. I mean, imagine looking at your country. Do you know how much that hurts? Honestly, I'm not kidding. Like, it really hurts to look at this map and just see it carved up, by invaders, by bastards. How can you look at this and tell me colonialism is not over? What is this then? What is this? This is no different than 100 years ago with the British and the French coming in and, with their noses in the air like snobs, like arrogant, idiots and doing what they like. Just, sitting at a table with some fancy, cups of tea and just carving out maps on land that does not belong to them. And those bastards died, Sykes and Picot, and we're still living with the consequences of what they did. They carved up Syria. Syria used to be much bigger than this, by the way. Much bigger. Let me show you. This is what Syria used to be. And they carved it up. They completely carved it up. I'm just going to show you also Sykes-Picot. For those of you who don't know, Sykes-Picot are French and British diplomats who carved up the Middle East. So this is what they did, basically. This is the real map. This is the original map that they had. And they carved it up. The French take, Lebanon and Palestine. Sorry, Lebanon and Syria. The British can take Palestine and Iraq and so on. They just carved it up like that. And Syria used to have much more, right? So Lebanon, Palestine, Jordan, all of this was considered Syria or Surya al-Kubra, Greater Syria. Anyway, but that's another story. I just wanted to show you that it's really heartbreaking looking at this and just seeing them do whatever they want. And no one calls it illegal. They call it an incursion. An incursion. Yeah, I see how it is. I see how it is. So for Russia, it's an invasion, but because NATO, your NATO buddy Turkey, which you need now to get Finland and Sweden in, it's an incursion. That you don't want to upset Erdogan too much because you need his vote. So I think this is what this is about. Just as a final note, I think this is what Turkey has wanted for a long time. As I showed you, they've been wanting this since 2019. And now was the perfect moment for Turkey to do this because the West need them. They need Erdogan to say, okay, we accept Sweden and Finland into NATO. And then you have unanimous consent. And he knows that they're not going to, he knows that they're never going to hand over the PKK, the Kurds that are in Sweden, because they demanded an extradition, right? Turkey the other day was demanding an extradition. Look at this. This is 8 days ago. Turkey demands extradition of PKK members from Sweden, Finland for NATO bid. So they were basically saying, hand over those PKK members, and then we will accept you in NATO. Well, they're not going to do that. So Turkey is basically going into Syria, in the areas that are controlled by the Kurdish militias, and going after them on the ground. So those two things, that's what's up. But at the end of the day, we all know what this is. It's a land grab. And, Turkey wants to take more and more chunks of Syria. That's what it's about. And now they thought it's the perfect moment.